This is Barbas, just doing God's work.
Dante, get out of there! You're in danger!
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my DMC, Dante Must Die Difficulty video walkthrough. This is mission 18, this is Demon's Den. This is one of the most formulaic missions of the game. You're going to be going into, I think it's 4 different chambers, doing a arena battle against some enemies, and then it's going to activate a power source, and then you're going to do a puzzle and end the level. So you can do them in any order you want. The fights are all going to be subjective on which ones you think are more difficult, which ones you think are easier. The ensemble of enemies are all pretty interesting, and some of them are more fun than others. One cool thing that I've noticed is the middle gyroscope is fantastic for getting environmental kills. So if you can knock enemies into it, you're going to get a nice damage bonus. And also, a lot of these areas have edges that people can fall off, and you can get some really quick environmental kills. Or you can do that, where you fall off. And that's gay, but that's just how it works. This particular fight, you want to kill all of the pups before you start engaging the big guys, because that way there's not going to be more than 2 big guys, and then you can just divide and conquer like we've done pretty much through the entire game. I personally think this enemy is overused, because I just don't enjoy fighting it. I find it quite boring, really. But that's just me. Maybe some people love it. I couldn't really say. The consensus of this game is difficult to understand at this moment in time, because everybody who's putting forward Let's Plays and walkthroughs are people that don't really play these games. And I'm sure there's 1 or 2 that have experience with them, but when I did a general search and I listened to a couple of videos, for the most it was people that are just playing it like a new game, a new, action game that's kind of cool, looks quite fancy. I haven't listened to anybody that's even as invested as I am, and I'm not as invested as some folk. But now that the blue guy's gone, red guy gets to devil trigger. He also goes into rage mode. I've tried the second camouflage on the game, because I've got 3. I've got the standard camo, I've got the gold camo, and I've got the bone camo. All of this from pre-ordering it from a shop, and I also got Vergil's downfall. Like I'm super curious just about the reception of the game. Like I wish there was more information about the inner workings of games launches, games dropping, games being received, public statements by the companies and things. And I know you can check Twitter, and I know a lot of the news sites pick up on sales figures and stuff like that, but I just wish there was more transparency, so you could really understand what's going on in that headquarters and stuff. Because I am curious how well this game's going to do. Because the hate, you just can't anticipate the hate. It's unbelievable. Like, it's getting to the point where, like, really loose-minded people, swing voters, are seeing so much negativity that they themselves are swaying towards being negative as well, when they probably don't even have an opinion themselves. They're just moving towards the greater opinion, the greater consensus, which is kind of strange, but I suppose some folks have to do it. And you can go on anyone's videos for this game that have just come out, and there are dislikes. And it's not because the person who's playing is a bad content provider. It's because of the game. And anyone who's played this game is probably the same as most of us, saying, it's a good game, it's a solid game, there's problems, but what game doesn't have problems? And it just seems strange that everybody's so fucking eager to shit on this one. Like, where were all the people shitting on Resident Evil 6 when I was doing it? Because the only people I saw were people defending it, and then every so often there were a few folk that agreed with me. Like, shit on a game that deserves it, man. Don't shit on one just because they changed the colour of the fucking guy. It's ridiculous. It's like, I bet when they released Miss Pac-Man, you were all up in arms, because, he's got a bow on him, you're sacrilegious. There's nothing sacred in this world anymore. Some folk. This is great, this one, by the way. 2 Dream Runners and 1 gyroscope. Hours of fun in this encounter right here, because if they come anywhere near this gyroscope when they're teleporting in, they're just getting battered away. And the cool thing about it, it can actually knock them off the edge and they don't have enough time to recover. You'll notice I just got an environmental kill on one of the Dream Runners, and he was nowhere near dead because I hadn't even attacked them yet. But that gyroscope is your best friend, so make sure you knock them into it as much as you can. And I wish there was more things like this in the game that were environmental hazards for the enemies, because that type of stuff is just fun. It reminds me of the wrestling games where you used to go into, you know, outside the stage and reach into the crowd and pick out stop signs and stuff and chairs and weapons and reaching under the ring itself and getting a 2x4 or a table and just getting really creative, picking up shit around the place and hurting your opponent with it. That type of stuff I think is fascinating. And I haven't played wrestling games for a long time because I fell out of love with wrestling almost overnight. And it's one of the strangest things that where you can love something so much and then it's gone. I did the same with football. That's with the foot, not with the hands, for anybody wondering. And I'm hoping I don't do it with MMA because it's the only real sport I follow and I really enjoy it. And speaking of MMA, I've got the most recent Strikeforce event recorded that I need to watch. I have no idea who's fighting, and I don't really understand Strikeforce at this moment in time because pretty much all the competent fighters have gone across to the UFC. What the fuck are people still doing? I don't get it. If anything, you know, getting scheduled to fight for Strikeforce, is that an insult because you're not quite up to par with the UFC? I'm not really following it at all at the moment. And that's not mentioning that their pay-per-views are 6 months between them. Ridiculous, you know, gaps between events. I don't understand it. But there is the second guy dead. There is the second power-up. Now we can move back into the central chamber and progress onwards. So this is another filler level, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, they've done really well up to this point, but I do think that the creativity kind of took a back seat to function on this one. This is much more akin to the design of older Devilmaycry games, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it just stands out when the areas before this section were so stellar. And I don't know, this one just seems to lack the imagination that they've shown previously. The puzzle itself is quite good. It starts out, you're scratching your brain thinking, well, this is a bit weird, but then the answer's really obvious and simple, which is nice. Because I hate puzzles that take forever. I hate the dice in Devilmaycry 4. Fuck that dice. That dice is trash. That beep right there is telling me that there's a collectible I've just passed. And this is the next gauntlet of enemies. And I believe this one is a witch, because we haven't seen a witch yet, and there's plenty of them. So that's a butcher. That's an elite Stygian. That is a demon dodge. And unfortunately I get clipped because I couldn't stay in the air long enough. So on paper this fight is the simplest one we've done so far, but this butcher is kicking my ass. This arena's quite small as well for these enemies. But like a couple of things. The first butcher encounter should have been a boss. Should have had a life bar, being a boss and all that good stuff. Maybe the first tyrant should have been a boss as well, just to get the boss numbers up. Devilmaycry is about bosses. And there's not that many. And the ones that are here have all got numerous life bars and numerous phases, and each phase seems to be the same, so it's so disappointing. And after this one we've got Mundus fight, and you're going to see that level for what it is. Which is essentially very similar to the Colossus from God of War 2, only nowhere near as fun. Because the Colossus fight is actually interesting. I wish I could say the same for Mundus, but it's paint by numbers, copy paste. Really, really just not a great boss. And I do apologise if people are taking this as a lot of negatives. Don't get me wrong, it's a fully functional boss. You might really enjoy it. With the creativity that Ninja Theory have showed with the levels and the enemy designs, and you know, just their take on this game, the bosses should have been better. And they look fantastic. You know, there is some interesting nuance to them, like the ability to parry. You know, the ability to knock back things, stuff like that. Things that have been in Devilmaycry to a lesser extent. It's all there, but there's also the Devilmaycry 2 thing of just smack this thing for far too long, and none of it's all that satisfying. And I miss Royal Guard, I miss the styles, I've got to say. I understand why there are none in this game, because the devs made it clear of the motivation for why there were no styles, but at the same time, there's just something cool about, you know, specialising. And it also gives you a handful of different playstyles and a handful of different move modifiers, and it's, you know, it's another complexity that was lost. And I'm not sure, I don't know. It's a really interesting situation to be in, because there is by no means a small amount of moves on the game, but compared to the other ones, there's nowhere near the same amount. And this is the witch encounter, and also this is a terrible room. The cool thing though, did you notice what just happened then? The Stygians that were trying to get close to me ended up getting hurt and environmentally dying. I don't know if it was because of the witch, I don't know if it was the gyroscope, I'm not entirely sure, because I didn't see it. But suffice to say, they got their ass spanked, and I'm glad, because they're a nuisance. But we've got a couple of harpies as well, we've got these stupid swords that are really annoying. And I'm trying to deal with the harpies and isolate the witch, and you can see the camera's not really helping at this moment in time. The witch is not helping, she's cock-blocking me with my vision, and she's just lost a shield. I go to grab her, but the lock-on grabs the wrong thing. Very, very frustrating, but what can you do? I wonder if you can punch that ball. That'd be cool, you know, sending a fully charged shield back at her. This is the point where I realised I could get some cheeky punches off on her. I need to go into the training mode to see if it gives you the damage numbers, to see how damaging each attack is, because I want to know if that punch is better than using the Arbiter, because I don't really know. And the thing that makes me think that it's probably weaker is the fact you can charge it. But the charging takes so long. Like, who the hell lands shit like that when it takes that long? The only thing I can think of doing is knocking them into the air, doing a very small jump, and then charging to catch them as they land. You know, doing some Super Smash Brothers melee timing type shit. But I don't know. Not even that is going to make it all that valid. Why the hell is it not a Stinger B? I might actually tweet that and ask them why they decided to give it the flaccid downward punch over the immensely satisfying Stinger B. And I really hope they don't go, what's a Stinger B, because then I'd be really sad. Because, you know, these people are responsible for researching these games before they make them. Or some of them are, some designer or somebody.
All done. Great.
So I suppose I should paraphrase that by saying, if I'm talking to somebody who was incorporated with the game design rather than just some PR fake smile guy doing a presidential wave across Twitter. But this puzzle here, you have to obviously line up the symbols with the pillars, and it's just a case of manipulating the circles so that you can get them lined correctly. It's pretty standard stuff, it's not too difficult. I can make it look difficult, more difficult than it is, but that's just if I'm having a bad or a slow day, because I have retard moments like everybody else. I do deserve to be on the special bus every so often, be me tired, be me just, you know, in a dumb mood. But it's a nice change of pace. We haven't seen many puzzles. I'm grateful for that fact, because as much as I do enjoy puzzle solving, I don't play these games for puzzle solving. That right there was an input fail again. And the dialogue I've just talked over is a really funny one. Because Vergil's on about how he learnt to hack stuff, and how when he was a kid he felt like he was in control using computers and getting really skilled with it. And he's just kind of continued it until he's got really good with it. To which Dante kind of just goes, oh well, I was banging chicks. But your thing sounds pretty cool too. And it's just a very nice, witty repertoire between the brothers. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.